Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Hello, Maria.
Good morning. How are you all?
I'm fine, sweetheart. And you?
Yeah, I'm fine too. I will set. You said, where do we start? Well,
where do we start?
At the beginning.
Now, in regards to our problem with the free flights from Lebanon,
Oh, yeah.
got some research.
Yeah.
A plane would cost between $90,000 to $100,000 to charter.
Yeah.
The charges on top of that to and fro the airport and the home base. So if the chartered plane was, say, in America, we would be charged for flying it to Lebanon from America. We would be paying extra for fuel, catering, security charge, on the ground handling fees, landing fees, taking off fees. If it was extended on the runway, we would pay for that as parking fees and danger fees in case the plane got damaged. Now, the government is chartering this, so it would be exactly like the NDIS.
Yeah.
The charges would blow out by 10, and we would be paying dearly.
Will there be any accounting? Will there be a judgment day and somebody stands up in Parliament and says, well, this little adventure of ours, our good-natured adventure to bring these people back, this cost the Australian taxpayer X. Will there be a moment in time where we will know exactly what the bill is?
Oh, no, we're going to be different, Jeremy. Remember, Albo said he was going to be different. He was going to be open and transparent, and he wasn't going to be a bully, and he was going to be inclusive, and the list goes on and on. But when the crunch comes, well, hey, everything is confidential. We, the people that are paying for it, we can't know. And I wish somebody in Parliament would have a backbone and stand up and demand that we, the public, get all that information. Promises are made and promises are broken. Well, it ends today.
Well, the opposition did get on its feet yesterday, or was it last night, when they asked that, considering these people in Lebanon had been asked, in fact begged, to get out now for several months, and they didn't, the opposition says they should therefore pay. And I can't see anything wrong with the argument.
Neither can I, Jeremy. And if 30,000 Lebanese Australians are in Lebanon and they've been warning and warning here, and the Israelis also have been warning them, please get out, because we are coming in, we're going to have a ground invasion, and they stick firm in the areas that have all these ordinance and everything under hospitals, schools and playgrounds and that. Well, they wear it.
You got to take responsibility for your decisions. If your decision was to go in the first place, well, it's a free world mostly. And if your decision is, I'm going to stay, well, you must take responsibility for that decision.
Yes, and the sugar comes off the table. If you go over for 6 months, I've got a friend that spent 6 months in England with her partner, and then in winter they came to Australia for 6 months, and he toured around and seen our beautiful country, and she had to advise Centrelink and her pension.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Aged pension, mind you, not sugar. It got cut off for the 6 months that she wasn't here.
Hey, Maria, you've just twigged my memory on a subject when you mentioned Centrelink. I know an example where Centrelink actually, and this might interest all listeners, including yourself, that Centrelink is prepared to give their clients, because they call them clients, the recipients of government and taxpayer funding, they give their clients a cash advance if they want to go overseas. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that.
Centrelink is a wonderful beneficiary or benefactor, I should say, of their clients. They do all sorts of wonderful things in the background that us members of the public are unaware of. Oh. And in fact, the NDIS, I found out the other day that a couple of recipients of the NDIS, they had an outboard motor installed, new outboard motor, because their old one had reached the end of life. And someone got a brand new caravan because their previous caravan had dilapidated to the point where they needed a new one. And this was on the basis that would improve their enjoyment of life. Well, I'd like to see the government improve my enjoyment of life too.
I know people who get annual holidays on NDIS. Annual holidays.
Yeah, annual holiday.
With the carer.
Yeah, we talked about it over and over again. Yeah. You know that the NDIS, Maria, employs 400,000 people?
I know, Jeremy.
400,000 people.
All the fraud that has been going on for all these years, this is why we're in the poo. Yeah, now, why can't they, for somebody that's worked for years and years, breaking their back for building this country, why can't we have some of that cream? Well, I would love a new caravan too, but I haven't even got an old one. I've worked hard all my life, and at the moment, all they know is to put up prices and fine you, and like at the moment, the councils are wanting to fine you for not putting out the rubbish bin. Yeah. For God's sake, get rid of these councils. My view on councils.
I know, but if you keep electing these people, you just get more of the same.
Yeah, and they're just sheep. And here in the Adelaide Hills, our Adelaide Hills Council, they didn't know that they had a black hole of $5 million. So up go our council rates.
What caused the black hole?
Yeah, well, we don't know what caused the black hole, but I can tell you what I think the black hole is, too much largesse.
What, Tony?
Not living within their means, as usual.
Yeah. Well, this is the amount of money that we've got coming in, and the federal government and the state government should do the same thing. Nobody ever said that they had a right to, on our behalf, run up huge debts. This is how much money we have coming in. This means we can spend this much, and we have to put this much aside for contingencies, unexpected things, and then we don't have any debt.
Burnside Council tried the same thing on a few months ago. They wanted to put the rates up 11 to 14%. I pointed out in the questionnaire, I said, you already had a 4% per annum rate rise in the last 10 years through natural increase in housing prices. It went from $35 million income to roughly 45. They've already had it. They're double dipping. Yeah. They can't even live within their inflation increase. They want more.
And that's where the ironic part of the CPI figures are, because the CPI only measures from the present quarter to the previous quarter. So it gives an unrealistic an amount of the increase, when in reality, when people get their electricity bill or whatever price they're looking at, they should be looking at what it cost them 12 months ago. And as Tony says, and identifies quite correctly, these councils are now aggregating, putting council rate increases on top of previous year's increases, 8% one year, another 10% the following year. So we're actually aggregating, compounding the cost increases, and that's what people should be looking at, what they used to pay compared to what they're paying.
But they
now.
already get a natural increase through housing price increases, which is linked to the rate in the dollar.
Yes.
They're already getting it. They're double dipping.
Yes.
Yeah. What these protesters are protesting about at the moment is stop funding Israeli weapons. Well, I wish let's stop the UN funding Gaza, Lebanon, Afghanistan, etc. They're full of despots. It should be stripped and dissolved, the same with WHO, because they are actually dividing the world.
But it's not just the World Health Organization and the United Nations and people like that. Les, what was that, the amount of money that you told me Penny Wong had sent off to Gaza?
She has now given Australian taxpayers funds to Gaza to the amount of $82 million.
$82 million. And does she imagine that it won't be the terrorists that take possession of that money?
Well, the ruling body in Gaza is Hamas. So the money is going to Hamas. And the leaders of Hamas aren't in Gaza. They're down in Qatar. It reported that two of those buggers are getting or have made already $4 billion each, living the life of luxury.
Good God.
While their people are suffering.
Oh, look, we should stop this rubbish.
Well,
and it is rubbish because in Gaza, all those tunnels and all those people that are being used as human shields, and these fools here protesting and around the world that there's genocide. Well, there's genocide. Hamas is using genocide on their own people for their own rotten means.
Maria,
in Gaza, Israel was funding 500 trucks a day to feed Gaza before October the 7th. And they breed like flies at October the 7th.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
There were 50,000 women that were pregnant, for God's sake. If they are starving, why are you getting pregnant? If you can't feed yourselves, why bring other life into the world for misery, supposedly?
Maria, it does, it sort of is a bit hard-hearted, but the fact of the matter is you're right. If you have a group of people who choose to live in a particular place and then suddenly realize they can't afford, or they can't literally, for one reason or another, feed themselves, and 500 trucks a day have to be provided with provisions so they can survive. Where is the logic in that?
There is none, Jeremy. There is none. But we're always paying. We're always...
Maria, you're talking about the effects of the conflict, but the reality is that whenever there's been an agreement about a ceasefire in the Middle East, it's never worked. There's been a temporary lull in proceedings, but then Hamas, for example, has always kept on needling Israel, and Israel now has to make a decision, and I'm sure Netanyahu has made the decision, enough is enough of this. We have to surgically solve the problem. And if you look at the administration of the terrorists, one by one they're being pinged off, and if you get rid of the leadership, maybe the young people will start to say, let's make a change to the future. Yeah. I think that's the hope we have to live in, that if you get rid of the stuff that's rotten to the core, that the future will be much beneficial.
Do you think there's a generation down the track that will be completely different?
Well, I think, Jeremy, there's more than a generation. I think what the media is not telling us, and what I've discovered the other day, that secretly countries in the Middle East, even the ones that we might consider to be against Western civilization, they are secretly wishing that Israel takes care of.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Iran, in terms of
Saudi Arabia for one.
Yeah. Well, it'd be Saudi, Egypt, all those. They actually want peace, and they want someone like Iran to be out of the picture. And it's not the people of Iran, it's the administration.
But aren't you reinforcing with the next generation of Gazans, for example? You're reinforcing the hatred of the Jews because the pain and the suffering and the bloodshed and the destruction of their houses and at a very personal level. These kids are going to grow up. And isn't that the next generation of trouble?
I think you're quite right. And Liz Storer last night on the Late Debate made the comment, and she's very emphatic about this, that the way we view the Middle East compared to the way the people in the Middle East view Western civilization, I mean, we're the colonists and the invaders, us people in the Western side of the world, and those people view that very poorly, very badly. And it's not the same prism they're looking through that we're looking through. I mean, we think they're bad over there, they think we're bad over here. So never the twain shall meet. But eventually, the generations have to change. It's like this woke ideology. We have lost one or two generations of kids who'll never think differently, but ultimately it's like the turnstile. You have to get to it or get to the crossroads and make the change. And then the new generations have to be. It's like the climate change phenomena. The new greenies are actually embracing nuclear because they see that the new technology in nuclear is far better than these renewable programs. So they're changing their ways because they're the new blood. And that's what we need, new blood.
Maria, I love you and thank you.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.